What's up in War Eagle War Report family? You got Ike Jones back with another morning drop. And today we're going to talk about why the trio of transfer wide receivers will be so crucial for the Auburn Tigers this season. Let's get into it. Y'all know how we do right here, War Report style. Let's drop it on them.
You are now listening to the War Report.
Morning drop. It is Friday, August the 9th, and we are here on a Rogue Shop morning drop Friday, talking a little bit more about Auburn's football team coming up into this season. If you want to be able to relieve some stress during the season, make sure you visit our folks over at the Rogue Shop, rogueshop.com. Use code Rapport to get a little something off of your purchase when you go over there. Sleep, stress, anxiety, pain relief, all of that can be remedied there at Rogue Shop for you. Today on the Auburn Express morning drop, we are talking about the wide receiver room a little bit more. We talked about this room Wednesday on the midweek report. I want to dive a little bit more because we focused more on the freshman receivers, and I want to talk a little bit more about the trio of transfers that came over and why they are going to be so important to Auburn's success coming into the 2024 season. We're talking about Keandre Lambert-Smith, Robert Lewis, and Sam Jackson V. But all three of those guys coming over with varying experiences, varying different things that they're going to be able to provide for this team. But all of them, I think, are going to be crucial for the success of the Auburn Tigers going into this season. Let's start the conversation by talking about the first guy that came over in the transfer portal, Robert Lewis. Now, when he first came over in the portal out of Georgia State, I don't think that this was a big one that was on a lot of people's radar about how much of an important piece this was, a building block for what Coach Hugh Freeze and this offense want to do this season. But when you see Robert Lewis come over here, he's bringing over 1,400 snaps in his career, 759 last season. 161 targets and 103 in this last season. 102 catches in his career, 70 in this last season. 1324 on the yardage for his career, 877 yards last season, 14 touchdowns in his career, 7 of those coming in the last year. So you can really see this last season that he had at Georgia State, Robert Lewis was coming into his own, so much so that his transfer has been now, we talked about this, mentioned this Wednesday. He is on the watch list for the best wide receiver in the country coming this year. I think that is a combination of things. That's a combination of a lot of the hype that's going to be given to the outside receivers of Keandre Lambert-Smith, who we'll talk about in just a minute, and the freshman Cam Coleman or Perry Thompson, whichever one you want to put out there. A lot of attention, a lot of hype being given to those folks. Robert Lewis in the slot may be someone who's going to come up really big for Auburn this season. Thursday, during the media availability, you heard from the coaches out there, and some of the praise that you hear from a guy like Robert Lewis, particularly from his position coach, Marcus Davis, is about his versatility and his ability to play both inside and outside. You saw that on display during the A-Day game where he moved around from the slot to the outside receiver. His ability to play multiple positions along the offense at the wide receiver position allows Auburn to be able to withstand having someone not having a good game or maybe getting dinged up or needing a breather. You can move Robert Lewis around. So he has the experience of playing both outside in the slot at his previous stop, and he understands the offense fundamentally. And he gives you more of what you need to be able to have at the wide receiver position to make sure that you can continuously run your offense and not have to adjust what you're trying to do from an offensive perspective, depending upon what you want to do, whether it is, personnel groupings or, again, trying to absorb situations with injuries or trying to run tempo when you want to move some stuff around, or just want to be able to throw some stuff at people on the fly when you are running tempo. You can move him to different positions and run some different stuff. So his versatility, I think, is going to be crucial for the Auburn Tigers this year in being able to do all the things that they want to do. That and the fact that, Robert Lewis just actually wanted to be at Auburn. And that's important when you talk about guys who are coming over from the transfer portal. This is a guy who Auburn was kind of a bucket list or dream school for him. Coming out of high school, he wanted to be an Auburn Tiger. So he got his opportunity, and this is going to be a prove-it year for him. If he's got aspirations of getting to the NFL, then he needs to be able to show that he can do it on the biggest stages, and there's no bigger stages than playing in the SEC, particularly in this season where you have the 12-team playoff. He's going to have an opportunity, if this team can sneak into that playoff somehow, to display himself on the national stage multiple times this year during the season and in the postseason. So Robert Lewis is going to be a key cog, in my opinion, to what they're trying to do from an offensive standpoint. Now, this next portion of what we're going to talk about with Keandre Lambert-Smith is also going to apply a little bit to Robert Lewis, but let's talk about the addition of the guy from Penn State, Keandre Lambert-Smith. One of the big things that you hear from the coaches when they're talking about him, again, this is Marcus Davis or this is Coach Nix when they're talking about him, is his ability to kind of understand and lead. Now, they talked about this with Robert Lewis as well, but Keandre Lambert-Smith, a big guy of just he's been through it out there at the Power 5 level, right? That's the one thing that you don't have from Robert Lewis is that Power 5 experience. But Keandre Lambert-Smith has been through it at the P5 level, and he's been the guy at a school on the Power 5 level. So Keandre Lambert-Smith has been through those battles. He's been through those big games in Power 5 environments, in the kind of environments that Auburn players are going to have to be in. And those freshmen haven't been through that. Robert Smith hasn't really been through that, except for the few times he's played, against some of those bigger schools. But it's a different kind of energy when you are a P5 going against another P5 in a big rivalry matchup. Keandre Lambert-Smith brings you that, and he's been a number one in that situation. So he's going to be able to bring that subject matter expertise of, how do you prepare for those big moments, right? So preparing for a season and getting your body right as a veteran. Both of these guys have been through that. Keandre Lambert-Smith has been through a strength and conditioning program that is on the P5 level, and he's had to get prepared in facilities that are going to be similar to Auburn. So he's going to bring that expertise as well. But then when you get into the thick of the season, how do you prepare for the big moments in the big games? Is he going to be able to be that voice? I think that he is. And he also affords you the ability to not have to rely on Cam Coleman, Perry Thompson, Malcolm Simmons to be number one receivers out of the gate as true freshmen. He's been a number one, and he's someone who, Peyton Thorne can lean on early in the season to be able to come up with in big situations. He's been described from all the talks that I've had with players and coaches in the facility and just people around the program as somebody who just kind of does a little bit of everything well. So he's a consistent piece as well. And he brings that versatility that we talked about with Robert Lewis of being able to play the outside, and he's played some slot receiver as well. So he knows how to be able to prepare at different spots, and he gives you some more versatility to be able to switch it up throughout the season. So those two guys are definitely going to be important to the success of the Auburn Tigers in the wide receiver core. We got one more of the transfers that we need to talk about, and that, of course, is Sam Jackson. But before we talk about Sam Jackson, we definitely need to talk about something else that's going to enhance the performance, and that is JOYMODE, 20% off and free shipping at usejoymode.com when you use code RAPPORT over there. JOYMODE is going to help you get your performance kicked off into the best level absolutely possible. It is for sexual performance, but it's so much more. When combined with a healthy diet, good sleep, and exercise, you'll greatly improve your cardiovascular health with JOYMODE. The 30-pack comes in a perforated box, perfect for your supplement, cabinet, pantry, or bathroom vanity. It's the perfect 1 month supply. Support your erections, athletic performance, heart health, and overall quality of life with JOYMODE, whether that's on the move or traveling with the compact sachets that are easy to pack and take with you. Get a JOYMODE boost anytime, anywhere. Redefine your intimacy and go to usejoymode.com and get 20% off with free shipping when you use code RAPPORT at your checkout. Again, that's usejoymode.com. Let's finish off our wide receiver conversation and talk about Sam Jackson and why he is really the wild card in this situation. Now, I didn't talk about the statistics there for Keandre Lambert-Smith, so let me back up and do that. In his career, the snap count, 2,059 snaps, 656 of those coming last season, 205 targets, 85 of those coming last season, 126 catches, and 53 of those coming last season. 1,721 yards, 673 of those coming last season, 11 touchdowns with 4 of those coming last season. Last season was actually a little bit of a dip in productivity for him. But he is a guy that brings a ton of experience into the room. And why I back up and talk about snap counts, experience, catches, targets, all those things is none of those things apply to Sam Jackson. So why is Sam Jackson an important part of what this Auburn wide receiver core is going to need to have in order to be successful this season? And the answer for that is simply he has a knowledge to playing the wide receiver position that none of the other guys have, in that he's been a quarterback at this level. And when you hear him talk about it, there's clips out there on our YouTube page of when he was talking to the media the other day. There's clips now on the YouTube page of the coaches that they're talking to the media. When you hear them talk about Sam Jackson, one of the things they talk about, particularly Marcus Davis speaking on this, is Sam Jackson's understanding of what the quarterback's thinking. And Sam talked about this himself, of understanding what the quarterback's thinking when they see a particular coverage, and knowing when to sit a route down, because that's where the quarterback's going to expect you to sit the route down versus that coverage, and understanding pre-snap kind of what things to be looking for in the defense that will allow you to exploit them in different ways. And that understanding of what the quarterback and the offensive coordinator want to see, him being able to communicate that properly to the rest of the wide receiver core, that helps them learn the offense better, more quickly, and at a better place for them to be able to kind of deviate from the standard, let me go out here and just run this route. But, hey, this is where I need to break this route off against this coverage, because this is what's going to make the most sense. Those things are going to be super important as you talk about the progression of these young receivers. So you have the leadership voices that have been there and done that at this level. And then you've got this wild card X factor guy in Sam Jackson, who's going to be able to teach it from a different perspective than maybe those other guys who've played mostly wide receiver for their career are going to be able to do. And the other portion of that is he's actually just really athletic, right? So his ability to go out there and just make plays and be a football player, and his chemistry with Peyton Thorne that we've already talked about a little bit, those are going to make him an X factor. He's got a unique burst of speed that's going to allow him, when he's able to catch the football, to do some things with it after the catch. And again, he's just a football player. He's just athletic. So they've already talked about how he's been a lot more shifty during the fall than he was, because he was in the non-contact jersey during the spring, and, getting his body into that wide receiver form, wide receiver shape. It's going to be crucial to have an additional person there in the slot that's able to do something a little bit different for this offense. Now, I don't know. Keandre Lambert-Smith did some gadget stuff at Penn State. There's some clips of him, taking a catch and then, or maybe a handoff, and then he's turning and he's throwing a pass downfield. We already know Sam Jackson played quarterback in high school and at the collegiate level. So there might be some of that stuff that's available to you for him to be kind of a gadget guy and utilize in those ways. But what we do know is that his athleticism is something that's unquestionable, right? Even when he was playing quarterback, that was really one of the biggest assets that allowed him to be effective, was his athleticism, his ability to just make guys miss, his speed. So putting the ball in his hand is going to be something I expect to see Auburn do. I don't know how many snaps that Sam Jackson is going to get at a wide receiver, but I do know that he's going to be able to be someone that's going to be utilized in a very unique way. Again, he brings a very unique skill set. He brings a very unique knowledge to this room, and he's been very willing, again, from the conversations that I've had, to share that knowledge to help everybody get to the right place where they're all kind of seeing what Peyton Thorne sees, so they're on the same page when they're going out there and attacking defenses. But here's what I want to do. I want to hear your thoughts on how this trio can be most effective to be able to help Auburn's pass game get into the right situations this season and be one of the top producing pass games and wide receiver rooms in the SEC this coming up season. Let me know right down there in the comments your thoughts on all of those things. But I'm going to get out of here. Before I do, once again, shout out to the sponsor of the Morning Drop. That is Rogue Shop. Make sure you head over to America's #1 online dispensary, rogueshop.com. Use code Rapport when you do. Sleep, stress, pain, anxiety relief. All of those things can be remedied there at the Rogue Shop. Again, use code Rapport when you do that to get a little something off of your purchase. Before you all get out of here, make sure you like this video, share this content with somebody, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and then if you're over there on the podcast world, leave us that 5-star review. We definitely appreciate that. We'll be back at you with more great content sometime this weekend. But until the next time, and as always, War Eagle.